Hi there. In this video, I will try and help you out with matching headings task for IELTS reading. So I divided the video content into 3 parts. In the first part, I will give you some general information about the task of matching headings. Secondly, I will give you some tips on how to handle this particular task. And finally, I'm going to give you a sample task to which you can apply some of the tips to be provided. The first part. So what is a heading? A heading refers to the main point of the paragraph or section of the text. So this reading task tests your ability to recognize the main idea in the paragraph. And secondly, this reading task tests your ability to distinguish main ideas from supporting ones. So it's important to figure out the difference between what is primary and what is secondary in the text. So in terms of task type and format, here are the features. So you will be given a list of headings, usually 8 or 9, and you must match the heading to the correct sections, and which are paragraphed alphabetically. And you are expected to write the appropriate Roman numerals in the boxes on the answer sheet. And please remember that as there are more headings than sections, some headings won't be used. And one or more sections may already be matched with a heading as an example for you. So the second part, here are the tips. So do not let your background knowledge come to the foreground in a way that leads you to misinterpret the text. I know it is very tempting to rely on our background knowledge when reading the text, but we shouldn't do that, especially as far as IELTS reading test is concerned. Secondly, just ignore anything you already know about the topic. Remember, you are not being tested. Okay, you are not being tested on how much or how well you know about a given topic, but you are simply tested on the text itself. Some of the headings may look very similar. If there are 2 similar headings, try to wrap up the general meaning of each paragraph or section in 1 or 2 words to be able to identify the difference, the subtle difference between the 2 headings. Then decide which particular heading matches the paragraph best. So it's a very important tip that the first and the last sentence of the paragraph may contain the main point of the section or paragraph. So try to get the general meaning of each paragraph or section first by reading the first and last sentences of the paragraph. Don't search words that match exactly with words in the text. Otherwise, it would be very easy to find the answers. Remember, it is very important to know a lot of synonyms, and it's important to be equipped with the important skill of paraphrasing or reformulation, because the authors may suggest the same idea using different words. So instead of intelligent, in the latter part of the paragraphs, the author may refer to use the particular word bright in preference to intelligent. Or rather than using the word plentiful in the latter part of the paragraphs, okay, the author may refer to use the word abundant. In the next section of this video, I will illustrate this particular tip. Okay, I will analyze the headings that look very similar, And secondly, I will try to provide some practice where we can apply this particular tip. The first or the last sentence of the paragraph may contain the main point of the section. So here we go. So here is our sample task in actual IELTS. So this sample passage has 6 sections or paragraphs from A to F. Then we are expected to choose the correct heading for sections A and D and F from the list of headings below. So I will give you the headings now. So you can consider this list of headings as options, okay? In multiple choice questions, we have, just 4 options, for example. But in this case, you can think of it as if you have 9 different options, okay, or headings that you are going to match with the sections or paragraphs of the text. So if you look at the first and the last paragraphs in line with our tips, you will immediately see that these words in bold give you the main idea of the text, which is governments, and management of the environment. So as you can probably understand that we have some sort of suggestions here proposed by the authors, but this time we don't have government, but instead a related word, which is politicians. And politicians are those people in the government. And in section B, for example, we have to decide whether these 2 headings, okay, farming and social erosion, farming and food output, which one matches this particular paragraph? If you look at again the first part of the, okay, let me just, okay. So if you look at the first and the last sentences, okay, or the first and the second sentence, okay, we will see that this paragraph relates more to food output, higher yields, as you can see here, as you can understand from the words in bold, and here it has nothing to do with social erosion, so we can eliminate this, okay? And also please be aware that this sentence structure is a bit different because we don't have farming at the very beginning of the sentence, but instead no activity affects more of the earth's surface than farming. If you are to paraphrase or to reformulate this particular sentence, then you could have farming, okay, you can place farming at the very beginning of the sentence, okay, because it is farming that affects more of the earth's surface. So you can think of it as, in other words, okay, no activity affects more of the earth's surface than farming. In other words, farming is the activity that affects more of the, or that affects the earth's surface most. Okay. So again, by simply looking at the first sentence, all these activities may have damaging environmental impacts. Okay, so what we have here is environmental impact, and from the list of headings below, you will see that the key phrase, the environmental feedback impact of modern farming. Then we are giving some examples such as land clearing, social erosion, the natural consequences or the impacts of environment, or as a result of damaging environment. So here, the tip that there may be some two very similar headings. So in this case, we have the heading of the probable effects of the new international trade agreement, and secondly, the new prospects for world trade. Okay, so let's again look at the first sentence of the section F. So what you will see here is you can draw on your grammatical knowledge, okay, of the language, which is likely to be, okay. Here, and the tense throughout this particular paragraph is a future tense constructed with will, okay. So again, look, is likely to be or more likely to be grown, okay, crops or more likely to be grown. And again, it continues with, okay, all the rest of the paragraph. But here we have but. So up to this point, we have some undesirable, okay, undesirable consequences, okay, up to but. Then from this linking word but onwards, you will have many desirable environmental impacts. After all, when you say probable effects, those effects may be negative or positive. In other words, undesirable, okay, negative, undesirable, or positive, which means desirable. Okay. Okay. So please remember, keep the main thing, okay? Don't get distracted, okay, by some secondary sort of points which are stated throughout the paragraph. And more importantly, don't miss the forest for the trees. In other words, try to see the larger picture of the paragraph rather than some minute details. Thanks for listening.